All right, y'all. AEW Full Gear review for November 19, 2022. The last pay-per-view for AEW of the year is in the books. Pretty good show. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Best match was probably the one on the screen right here, Jungle Boy versus Luchasaurus in a steel cage match. Worst match was probably the Jamie Hayter versus Tony Storm match. That took about, I think, about halfway through to pick up finally. But it was just real slow in the beginning. We have the return of Saraya after a 5-year neck injury. And we have a new world champion, MJF, needed help from William Regal. And then we have the return of the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. And a shocking defeat they took. All right, let's get to it. First match, Jungle Boy versus Luchasaurus, accompanied of the ring by Christian Cage. Jungle Boy hits a drop kick. Luchasaurus threw Jungle Boy into the cage. Then he rubbed his face into the cage, and now Jungle Boy is busted open. He's just gushing blood everywhere. And then Luchasaurus threw Jungle Boy off the top rope. The ref wasn't looking. Christian grabbed the key from him for the cage door. So he's about to open the cage, and security takes him to the back. Luchasaurus goes outside, and then Luchasaurus catapults Jungle Boy into the cage, and then Luchasaurus, he reached under the cage door and pulled out 2 chairs from underneath the ring, and he threw him in the ring, and then Jungle Boy hit a drop kick. Luchasaurus a back body drop, and then Jungle Boy hit a Canadian Destroyer, and then he pulled a play out of Christian's playbook, and he hit a kill switch on the chair on the Luchasaurus. And then Luchasaurus hit a choke slam on Jungle Boy for a 2 count. Jungle Boy hit a pile driver for a near fall. And then Luchasaurus hit a tombstone for a 2 count. And then Luchasaurus set up a table inside the ring. Jungle Boy put Luchasaurus on the table, and then he hit him with a chair. Jungle Boy, so then he scaled the top of the cage all the way to the top, and he hit an elbow drop. I thought he was going to hit a splash from there, but he hit an elbow drop. The table barely broke. I don't think he landed all of it into Luchasaurus's chest. And then Jungle Boy applied the snare trap, and Luchasaurus tapped out. Pretty good opening match to start the pay-per-view. All right, next up we got Death Triangle versus the Elite for the trios titles. Nick Jackson hit a drop kick on Rey Fenix. Pac drop kicked Omega. Then Death Triangle hit a triple drop kick on Omega. Matt Jackson hit a double Northern Light suplex on Rey Fenix and Penta. And then Kenny Omega hit a Snapdragon suplex on Pac. Nick Jackson hit a DDT on Rey Fenix on the apron. And then Pac hit a German suplex on Omega. And then Death Triangle hit a triple tombstone. This was a cool spot. And then Pac hit the Black Arrow. Kenny hit the V trigger. And then Omega hit the Tiger Driver for a 2 count. Penta hit a Sling Blade on the Elite. He's so smooth when he does Sling Blade. Pac gave Rey Fenix the hammer, and he hits Omega with it when he's about to do a finishing move, and then he rolled him up for the win. So Death Triangle retains the trios title. Very shocking that the Elite lose their first match back after their 2 months off because of the stupid fight at All Out. And now they showed later in the night that this is going to be a best of 7 now to decide for the trios championships. They'll probably win best of 7. Because you're going to have these guys lose twice to the champions. All right, next up, we got Jade Cargill versus Nyla Rose for the TBS title. Story coming into this was Nyla Rose stole Jade Cargill's title. It's a stupid storyline. Anyways, Jade hit a pump kick. Nyla hit a body slam. And then Nyla Rose hit a neck breaker for a 2 count. And then she hit a diving knee drop for a near fall with Jade Cargill just hanging on the top ropes. Jade hit a powerbomb for a 2 count. And then Nyla hit Jade Cargill's move, JADE for a 2 count. And then Jade hit her finisher, JADE for the win. Next up, we got the Fatal 4-Way for the Ring of Honor World Title. Brian hit a suicide dive onto Guevara. Brian and Cesaro hit Jericho with multiple uppercuts. And then Sammy hit a double RKO on the Brian and Cesaro. Jericho and Guevara hit a double clothesline on Cesaro. And then Jericho hit a Death Valley driver for a 2 count. Guevara looked like he was standing in the ring, but he didn't break the count. And then Jericho hit a lion salt on Brian and Guevara. Guevara got pretty much caught in like friendly fire. Cesaro hit a gut wrench suplex on Jericho. And then Jericho hit a code breaker. Guevara broke out the pinfall, and this is where Guevara and Jericho started punching each other. And then Guevara hit in code breaker on Jericho for a 2 count. And then Jericho locked in the walls on Guevara. And then Jericho put the walls on Brian. Cesaro broke it up. And then Sammy Guevara hit a shooting star press on a Jericho for a near fall. Guevara hit elbows on Brian. And then Brian no-sold the elbows. And then Brian hit a running knee on Cesaro for a near fall. And then Brian locks in the crossface on Guevara. Jericho breaks it up. Cesaro hit an uppercut on Guevara. And then Jericho hit the Judas effect. He tried to hit it for the first time. He didn't get all of it. And then he hit it a second time on Cesaro for the win. Solid Fatal 4-Way match. All right, next up, we got Saraya versus Britt Baker. Saraya's first match in 5 years after a neck injury. Britt Baker hit a twisting neck breaker on the outside, back in the ring. She hit another neck breaker for a 2 count. Saraya hit a diving cross body off the apron for a 2 count. And then Saraya hit a nightcap for a near fall. Britt Baker hit a air raid crash. And then Baker hit the curb stomp for a 2 count. Saraya hit a running knee for a near fall, and then Saraya hit the DDT for the win. This was kind of like a shock finish. People didn't expect it to end this like this, because I don't think this was a finishing move or it was a planned finish. So, yeah, just a surprise ending, but right person won, I guess, the first match back. All right, next up, we got triple threat match for the TNT title. Hobbs hit a exploder on Joe. Wardlow hit a lariat on Hobbs, and then he hit a swanton on Will Hobbs. And then Wardlow hit a spine buster on Joe for a 2 count. Joe hit a dive on the outside on both guys. And then Hobbs hit a spine buster on Wardlow for a near fall. Wardlow landed multiple power bombs on Hobbs. This is where he started doing the powerbomb symphony. And then Joe hit Wardlow with the TNT title, and he choked Hobbs out for the win. So the new TNT champion is now just Samoa Joe. So he's the ROH World TV Champion and TNT title. So he's a double champ. We'll see who he feuds with next. All right, next up we got Sting and Darby Allin versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. Brawl broke out in early parts of the match. Darby hit a coffin drop from a ladder, and then Satnam Singh, he just came out of nowhere. He caught him in the air, and then he runs all the way up to the bottom of the ramp. Then he ran all the way back to the middle, and he just chucked this fucking guy on the ramp. And then somewhere in the arena, Sting jumped off a platform onto Satnam Singh. Back in the ring, Jeff Jarrett hit a clothesline on Darby. Sting hit 2 stinger splashes, and then Sting locked in the Scorpion Deathlock. Singh chokes Satnam Singh, chokeslam Sting, and then Jeff Jarrett got a 2 count. Darby hit a flipping stunner on Jay Lethal. Jarrett hit Darby with his guitar while he was in midair doing the coffin drop. This shit looked nasty. And then Sting and Darby Allin. Sting tried to do the Scorpion Death Drop onto Satnam Singh, and then he tells Darby, hey, get up there and help me out. So they did Scorpion Death Drop and he did the coffin drop to get Singh down. And then Darby Allin hit a coffin drop on Jay Lethal for the win. It was a solid match, I guess. A lot of brawling outside. Typical match with Sting's matches. All right, next up, we got Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter for the interim women's title. Storm hit a drop kick. Jamie Hayter tossed Storm into the barricade, and then Jamie hit a suplex for a 2 count. Storm hit a diving crossbody for a near fall, and then Toni landed a tornado DDT for a 2 count. Then Rebel comes out, and then she hit Toni Storm with the belt when the ref wasn't looking. Storm kicked out, and then the ref pretty much tossed Rebel out, get to the back. Storm hit a clothesline for a 2 count, and then Baker hit a curb stomp. She came out of nowhere. She had like a hoodie on and stuff. And then Toni Storm kicked out of that. Hayter tossed Storm into the corner. Baker was on the turnbuckle. She was trying to take the padding off, and she did. And then Hayter threw Storm into the exposed turnbuckle. And then Hayter hit a clothesline for a win. So Jamie Hayter is a new interim women's champion. See who she feuds with first. Find out next week. All right, next up, we got the Acclaim versus Swerve in Our Glory with the AEW tag titles. The Acclaim hit a double clothesline. And then Swerve threw Caster into the barricade. And then he set up another barricade on the outside. He like grabbed it from in the audience somewhere. And then he put it on the apron diagonally from the apron down to the ring. Pretty much how like people set up a table sometimes like that outside the ring. And then Bowen suplex Swerve on the outside. Swerve hit a running stomp on Bowen's injured shoulder. Caster hit a Hurricane Rana on Keith Lee. And then Max Caster hit a cross body on Keith Lee through the barricade that was set up outside. It was a cool looking spot. And then Caster hit the mic drop on Keith Lee, or on Swerve, and then Keith Lee broke up the pin. Swerve hit a brainbuster on Max Caster. Keith Lee tags in. Swerve grabs a bunch of pliers that were outside the ring. He was about to use it on Max Caster, and then Billy Gunn comes out. And then the refs pretty much escorted him to the back. And then Swerve gives the pliers to Keith Lee. He doesn't want to use them. And then Swerve just slaps the shit out of him. And then Keith Lee pretty much just says, fuck this, and he leaves. And then the Acclaim hit a combo move for the win. So it's pretty obvious now that Keith Lee and Swerve, this has been building for about weeks. Keith Lee and Swerve are pretty much no more longer a tag team, and they're going to have a feud. So hopefully their feud is good. All right, next up, main event, MJF versus Jon Moxley. Moxley's with Regal. Moxley hit a clothesline, and then he hit a Falcon Arrow, and then Moxley threw MJF into the steps. And then MJF bashed Moxley's head 10 times into the turnbuckle. MJF set up a table next to the ring. Mox did the stomps to the head. And then MJF tombstone Mox on the apron. This shit nasty. Mox did a pile driver on MJF through the table. The angle that they used for this, pretty sweet, the live shot. You can see it like right next to the apron. The cameraman was standing right there. It was a cool shot they had there. And they showed a bunch of replays after it, 3 times, like different angles. And then MJF got in the ring before the ref completed the 10 count. Moxley hit the paradigm shift for a 2 count. And then Moxley locked in the figure 4. MJF reverses, and then they're pretty much both selling knee injuries after this. And then MJF hit a heat seeker for a near fall. Moxley hit paradigm shift on the top rope. This was fucking insane. MJF put his arm on the rope, or he like grazed his hand on the ropes when Moxley was pinning him. And then MJF, he puts his diamond ring on after the ref gets knocked out. William Regal comes out. He says, "No, don't use the weapon." So he don't use the ring, and he chucks the dynamite diamond ring out of the ring. And then a second ref comes out. He gets knocked out by Moxley. And then Regal gives MJF brass knuckles. And then MJF hits Moxley with the brass knuckles, and he pins Moxley to become the new AEW World Champion. If you remember, about 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, MJF in a promo, he said he wouldn't use the Dynamite Diamond ring, but he mentioned nothing about the brass knuckles. And throughout his career, William Regal would always use brass knuckles in his matches. So that's where that came from. And then about a week and a half ago, there was a segment with Moxley and William Regal in the ring. He looked at William Regal, and then he looked at the camera, and he said, "I've seen the devil, and I've seen the eyes of the devil." And then he turns to the camera and he says, "That ain't you, MJF. I don't think you got it in you." So William Regal ends up being the one screwing over Jon Moxley. So he was pretty much the devil in this. And then MJF calls himself the devil. It's crazy shit. So yeah, MJF is the world champion. So we'll see who he feuds with. His first feud's going to be with the winner of Ethan Page versus Ricky Starks. That's the final for the World Eliminator Tournament. Hopefully Ricky Starks wins that. It should be a good feud between Starks and MJF. So we'll see. So yeah, that was it for Full Gear. Hell of a pay-per-view. And yeah. All right. See you.